A quick look at Genesis shows God's original intention was for a vegetarian world order. In the beginning, humans were to be vegetarians. They were only given and allowed plant matter for food. Every animal was required to eat a vegetarian diet as well. No exceptions were made. This was a vegetarian world. Adam and Eve lived in this vegetarian world. They had children, Cain and Abel. Abel was a sheep herder and Cain was a farmer. Cain comes up with the idea of offering some of his harvest to God, maybe in an attempt to get God's attention. Now Abel decides to copy Cain and do the same, except he kills an animal for his sacrifice. The Bible says the Lord had regard for Abel and his offering, but not for Cain's. This almost appears to suggest that God was happy Abel murdered a part of his creation and then offered it to him. Looking at the Hebrew in Strong's Concordance, we can see this word regard means to gaze or look upon, and in some instances it can mean to look at in bewilderment and dismay. God was not interested in sacrifices of any sort, so Cain's harmless offering of plant matter did not really catch his attention. But Abel follows suit, doing so in a revolting manner. Abel committed the first murder and offered it to God. Now this caught God's attention. When we rework these verses with the Hebrew, in better context with the story, we read exactly that. Cain was not mad that God liked Abel's animal sacrifice, for if this was the case, Cain would simply have killed an animal and offered it to God to gain his favor. But that's not what he did. That was not the situation. Cain was appalled at the first murder that Abel committed, and he did not want this to continue. Now God counseled Cain, knowing what was in his heart. Then Cain spoke to his brother Abel, but they could not reach a resolution. Abel must have wanted to continue murdering animals, and Cain could not bear this, so Cain killed him. This story is simple, and its objective is clear. The first murder of an animal led to the first murder of man. As long as we keep killing animals, we will continue to kill each other. Now that we have briefly touched on Cain and Abel, we will move on to Noah and the flood. In these days, the Nephilim, or fallen ones, were on the earth. They were the sons of God, and they created offspring with human females. Wickedness came over man. God looked upon the earth and saw only corruption. All flesh, the animals and humans, had turned wicked. This corruption that God saw was violence. Animals killing each other, humans killing animals, and humans killing each other. The Lord said he was going to destroy them, man and animals, insects and birds. This violence was so disgusting to him that he was sorry he even created them. God decided to use Noah, a man whose genes were not ruined by the Nephilim. He was blameless toward the violence which was occurring. Now for Noah to be considered walking with God, or according to God's desires, we know he was a vegetarian who was abstaining from violence to man and animal. He was not a part of this corruption on the earth. So God tells Noah he is going to destroy all flesh, animals and man, because the earth is filled with violence because of them both. Noah is to make a large boat, or an ark, and take aboard every sort of animal to keep them alive. Now there are two sets of seemingly contradictory instructions that Noah is given. In the first set of instructions, God tells Noah he is to take 2 of every sort of animal aboard the ark. And in the second set of instructions, the Lord tells Noah he is to take 7 pairs of clean animals and a pair of the unclean. To put it simply, a clean animal is one that has a vegetarian diet. An unclean animal eats other animals. So we have God telling Noah to take a pair of each animal, and we have the Lord telling Noah to take 7 pairs of clean animals and 1 pair of unclean. The Lord wanted to preserve his creation of unclean animals even though they were doing violence. He knew that with the large amount of clean animals, it would influence the unclean to return back to the vegetarian diet they were intended for. It would be just as Isaiah prophesied the future to be like: a wolf and a lamb grazing together, and a lion eating straw, just like the ox. There would be no more violence or hurting or destruction. But there was just one problem. Noah doesn't follow the Lord's instructions. He follows the other gods, and brings only a pair of each animal on the ark. What happens next? Well, the Lord shut him in, or as we read in the Hebrew, the Lord locks him in. In fact, after the rain stopped, Noah was not able to leave through the door. He had to take apart the covering of the ark to get out. The Lord had forsaken him, and now the one in the Bible called God in this story comes on the scene with an entirely different concept of what people should eat and how they should behave. Now, man can hurt and destroy all of creation, for they have been delivered into his hand. And man can kill each other for blood vengeance sake. Does this make any sense? God just wiped out man and animals because they were killing each other, and now he's saying, kill each other? Now, if we remember the story of Cain and Abel, that God lets Cain go after he murders his brother Abel. He even promises Cain protection if anyone sought vengeance on him. We have a new God on the scene, a bloodthirsty God. Keep reading the Old Testament for yourself to see. This God will take the most disgusting acts and make them the societal norm. Look around you. Chances are you are contributing to violence by partaking in a flesh diet. Do not be deceived by this false God. He is an enemy to our true Father, and what a deceiver he is.